I prefer for people to ask me, and then I open the door, and then I can tell them, and I say what I'm doing, and then most of the time they say, "Well, you haven't written anything for me." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Haven't asked me," you know.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you haven't paid me.
Yeah, right. But then I've had people that done that, and then I send them something, and I'm like, maybe you should say that for yourself. Like,
Okay.
you saying my song sucks or something?
Yeah.
But but you can't take it personally. You just need to hear that for them,
Welcome to episode 136 of the Bass Shed Podcast. My name is Ryan Roberts. What's happening, folks? Thanks for stopping by the Bass Shed here on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the little bell to get notified about new videos each week. Folks, how y'all doing? Welcome to the episode 136 of the Bass Shed Podcast. I'm excited to have David Dyson on the show. I've been checking him out for a few years, and this dude can play. For those of you that haven't heard me talk about it yet, earlier this year I released a transcription book of 15 timeless bass lines by the legendary Jerry Jamont. All the songs in the book were selected by Jerry, and Jerry and I worked together to put together a book they can be utilized by bass players of all levels, right? His bass lines, some of them can be learned from and performed by more of a beginner student. And then there's some seriously advanced stuff later in the book. All the tunes are presented chronologically. Actually, that was something that was important to Jerry, to have the tunes go by in real time, so you can almost see kind of a progression of his playing throughout the years as well. To learn more, stop by the bassshedacademy.org. There's a link in the show notes as well. Jerry and I ran into Victor Wooten at the NAMM show this year, and Victor Wooten had some nice words to say about the book.
What's up, my friends? This is Victor Wooten, and I am with the legend, none other than the great Jerry Jamont. But guess what? You can learn his bass lines right here. This is Jerry Jamont's bass lines, 15 songs. You got Pieces of My Heart, Deborah Think, You Send Me. Yeah, you heard me. You Send Me. So many right here. I like the one, what's it called? In the Instant Groove. My track right there. Check it out. You need to get this book, learn the transcriptions. You can play like Jerry. He'll teach you. What's the website? In the Shed?
bassshedacademy.org.
bassshedacademy.org. You heard it first. This is Victor Wooten and the great Jerry Jamont.
Thank you, my brother.
Get it. You heard me.
All right, for more books, practice resources, bass accessories, anything, stop by lemurmusic.com. I'm down at Lemur pretty regularly, and I was down there, I don't know, last week or so, and they were showing me some new rosin they got in by Upton Bass, and so I decided to check that out, right? I had been playing Carlson, and there's always like a cake of pops around. Like there's always some pops around, but I'd been primarily playing Carlson rosin. And so I decided to check out this Upton Bass rosin, and I was very pleasantly surprised. Stop by lemurmusic.com. Use the promo code TheBassShed, all one word, for 10% off. lemurmusic.com. On this episode of the Bass Shed Podcast is my chat with Mr. David Dyson, a bassist, songwriter, arranger, producer with a full career of groove and versatility. David is originally from South Dakota, but raised in the DC area. David started on baritone, euphonium, before the bass called his name at age 12, thanks to bass players like Larry Graham and Louis Johnson. From there, his musical journey took off. A Berklee College of Music grad, David first made waves as a bassist with saxophonist Walter Beasley before landing a gig with New Kids on the Block, and eventually moved his way up the ranks, so to speak, to become the musical director for New Kids on the Block. Over the years, he has toured and recorded with many artists, including Chico Freeman, Michelle Indigocello. As always, like whatever David is involved in, he's going to be bringing his signature groove, his signature sound, and a ton of energy. David Dyson also has a few solo albums out. He released Soulmates in 1999, the record The Dawning in 2004, and the record Unleashed was released in 2008. David has collaborated with a lot of various artists as a songwriter and as a producer, as an arranger. Click on the links in the show notes to learn more, and definitely check out his records. Definitely check out his records. Like, David Dyson has left a serious mark across several genres: funk, R&B, jazz. Like, he covers it all. Very, very versatile musician as far as what he's doing career-wise and even his playing styles. I love having bass players on the show that have so much versatility and utilize so many different aspects of their own artistry to pursue different things and bring strength to other aspects of the music industry. And here it is. Here's my talk with bassist, songwriter, producer, arranger, musical director, David Dyson. What kind of things you up to, man? I know you said you had a hectic schedule too.
Yeah. Well, actually, this as far as I hit last night with a local band, and I hit with this good band. It was it's like a TV show, one of those series like Housewives of DC.
Okay.
One of the husbands is one of the stars of the show, whatever. He throws a party all the time at the MGM. So we did, like every month, a couple times a month or whatever. And so we do those. And so it's always crazy. So that was
So what time did you get in? Like
close to midnight.
Okay, not too late.
No, it wasn't too late.
Yeah. All right.
But
for the listeners, actually, in perspective, where are you? Where do you live?
I live in the DMV, the Maryland, DC, Maryland, Virginia area. I live in Bowie, Maryland. Actually.
Okay, cool. East Coast.
Yeah, East Coast. And you're
cool.
LA, huh?
Yeah, I'm out here in Venice.
Oh, okay.
I live in Venice.
Nice.
Like all the way west side, like next to the water, west side.
Nice.
Cool, man. Cool. What now did I see this right? Were you doing some playing with Adam Hawley?
Oh yeah. I played with him before.
Okay, are you in his band? Like full time?
I played with him. Was it in Rehoboth? It might have been either Daytona or Rehoboth Beach Jazz Festival. A couple.
Okay, man. I knew him when he was kind of just doing more sideman work for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And we did some like straight ahead stuff here.
He's a great
in LA. Man, like he knows a ton of standards. Like we're calling giant steps at some tempos, and he was crushing it.
Yeah.
So he's definitely not. Let's put it this way: smooth jazz, playing that music was a decision for him, not a limitation.
I agree. I totally agree, and I was thinking the same thing before you said it. There's a lot of players out there that. I guess their pinnacle is being a smooth jazz artist player. Yeah. But there's a lot of cats out there, we just make money off of smooth jazz, but they're real players.
No, like Adam can throw down. No, right. There's no good way to say that without sounding like an a-hole. I know exactly what you mean, though. They have more to offer than just the lane they've chosen professionally. Let's say that.
Yeah.
Are you born and raised East Coaster?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
My father was a military guy.
Okay.
Air Force. So I was actually born in South Dakota.
Okay.
Air Force Base there, Ellsworth Air Force Base. And then my older sister was born in Kansas City. Because where he was stationed, I guess.
Yeah. All right.
But then, but my parents both grew up in D.C. My mother in Southwest and my father in Southeast.
Okay.
That's where they met. And, my mother couldn't take the cold in South Dakota and all that. Sure. Okay, we're out. We got to go back. Back to D.C. So.
Okay. But it gets cold in D.C. too, right? Like, I've never been to D.C. I've obviously been to the East Coast. But it seems like it gets cold in D.C.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
probably not. It's not as far north as South Dakota.
Right. The South Dakota
Yeah.
was there. I mean, my mother was telling me a story about how I was so amazed of the snow, with the snow and everything and the storms and everything, that there was a blizzard in South Dakota when we were there, and I opened the front door, and the wind blew me. It swung up, blew me out into the front yard, hanging onto the door.
It's like a cartoon.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. So let's get a little perspective for the listeners. When did you start playing, and what was it that gave you the bug to really pursue it?
I started. I first started playing bass when I was 12. When I asked my parents to get me a bass,
Yeah.
and they got me one for Christmas. But I had the bug way before then.
Oh yeah.
Listening to all the Graham Central Station records,
Okay.
Sly Stone, and
Yeah.
anything my parents had, I was listening to. Even I remember the Herbie Hancock album. I was 9 years old when the Headhunters, Herbie Hancock album,
Sure.
and I was just drawn.
That was it.
I was drawn.
Yeah.
I was mesmerized when I first heard when I heard Chameleon on the radio. I heard
Yeah.
taping it with my recorder, and I was like, I gotta have this record. So I asked I said, can for my birthday, for my 9th birthday, they got me
Yeah. Okay.
the album, and I was like, oh, mesmerized. But so I was always listening to anything my parents had, and then the thing is, like, if we would go to visit my godmother's house, she had all kind of stuff. They had different stuff. They were all into music. They weren't musicians, but they all loved music. So
Right.
I got Rare Earth and the Isleys, the early Isleys, all the Sly Stone stuff. What else did she have? She had a whole lot of stuff. James Brown, a lot of live stuff.
Okay.
So I would go with my tapes, my cassette tapes by that time, and start taping all the stuff. And
Yeah.
I'd do the same thing when my parents went, when my parents broke up. And when I go to my father's house, he had everything from P-Funk to Richard Pryor albums to
Okay.
all the War
Yeah.
album, New Birth. I mean, and then John Coltrane, Miles Davis, all that stuff. So I was taping all that too. So I
Yeah.
listening to all that. And then my parents, my mother listening to Dionne Warwick and the Fifth Dimension and all that stuff.
Sure.
So I mean, I was, I just had music all around me, so that I always said that learning music, 95 to 98. I don't know how I came up with those percentages, but
Yeah.
upper 90s, that percentage, that's the big part of learning music. I mean, playing, you got to have a huge catalog
Yeah.
to pull from in order. And a lot of times you don't even know where it came from. Like, okay, that sounds familiar. It could be something you got from country or
Right.
or fusion or rock or classic or soft rock or hard rock or it could be anything. Straight ahead, the reggae. Like,
Right.
where'd that lick come from? And that's happened to me so many times. But it's just in you at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it's all got thrown into the pot and stirred together, and like, okay, well, that's what the stew is right now.
Right. You got
and you're always adding to it. We're always still listening, and it continues to grow.
Right. You just got to have a library to pull from, though, because you could have one
Yeah.
in the world, but if you have no library to pull from, it's like, okay, you just wait.
Reflecting back on those records, what would you consider like the top as far as impact goes? Like, yeah, that one definitely influenced me. This many years later, I can still recognize the influence of that record or that player. Who were those folks?
Yeah, I could easily say that. Well, first of all, Louis Johnson was the catalyst for me to play bass, because I was listening to the records and reading all the credits. That's when we used to read credits all the time.
Yeah, I know. When there used to be credits like that, I didn't even know if there's credits on the digital stuff.
No credits on streams.
Right. Yeah.
But Louis. I was listening to Barry Graham and Bootsy and all those great players before But when that first Brothers Johnson record came out, that just hit me hard for some reason.
Mm.
And his style, his uniqueness. And that's when I asked my parents, I said, I got to play bass. Can I get a bass?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That was the you went over the edge on that one. That was got you going. Okay.
Looking out for number one album, the first debut album of Brothers Johnson. That one was heavy impact. And then Stanley Clark's, the first album, the Brown album, just Clark.
That red one with Vulcan Princess and
exactly, and Lopsy Lou.
Yeah.
That because that's the first time I was introduced to Stanley Clark. I'd never heard of him, and I just where I came upon that record. It's not like I bought it saying, "Oh, I want a Stanley Clark record." I'm looking, and all the funk and R&B. I wasn't into none of the fusion stuff yet. And the drummer in a band that I had put together at the time, we were just doing R&B stuff. I don't know if it was his parents or his uncles or aunts' albums or whatever, but he came upon some albums. He was like, "Listen, man, you got that Earth, Wind, and Fire Gratitude double set. I'll trade you." Yeah, he's like, "I'll trade you 2 of these albums for the live version, for that live side." And I was like,
"Yeah,
I'm not trading one." I said, "What do you have over there?"
Yeah.
One he had several albums actually, but I picked 2. I said, "For these 2, I'll give you that." And
okay.
It was Earl Clue Dance With Me album, and Louis Johnson was on it.
Okay.
So I said, "Okay, I want that." And then he had the Stanley Clark one. And I was like, I never heard of him, but he's a bass player. Let me check it out, you know?
Yeah.
So when I put the thing on, man, when I put that record on, at first I didn't believe that it was a bass. I said, no, that's his guitar player. That's not a bass.
Yeah.
You know? So that was my first, and I was like, he can't possibly play a bass that fast. That's not, and then I was just mesmerized from that point on, and I got all Stanley records and, everything he played on. And I was, of course, introduced to Return to Forever, everything they did.
Yeah.
Which to me, still today, they're my favorite fusion group. And I love Weather Report, but the Return to Forever is it for me. My introduction to fusion is my favorite.
I think that actually, that kind of element is, I don't know how to say it, I guess. When you're introduced to somebody and how you're introduced to it, whether it's a band or a musician, I mean, it could even go as like a television show that might still be on, like Saturday Night Live or something. When you're introduced to it, that's the best. That's the best it will ever be. So, like, I was listening to Weather Report before I got into Return Forever, but I had that Stanley Clark record before I got into Weather Report.
Right.
But so as far as a group goes, like, Weather Report is the group, but when it comes back to like serious innovators, obviously Jaco, but Jaco wasn't the original bass player, so I got to go Stanley.
Right.
Like what he was doing, doubling and all the fusion stuff. So I think it's always a funny thing of like who you get introduced to first in your journey, and then like how old you were. If you're like anywhere between, I don't know, maybe 13 and 17, like right in that group, you get introduced to something that makes an impact, you're on board forever.
That's true. I never thought about it like that, but you're absolutely right. And I was late on Jaco. Even though I liked this stuff, I was like, okay, it's going to take me a while to get into that because his stuff was totally different than what Stanley would do, and it was killer too. It was killer. I was like, all right, that's it's going to take me a while to do my homework with that kind of, It's funny because when I went to college, there were your Stanley cats and there were your Jaco cats,
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't Jaco even, Weather Report, they even performed up there, but I just wasn't interested. I wasn't, whatever.
Yeah.
It wasn't until after he died that I was like, dang, I missed him,
Yeah.
Then I started doing my homework. I got
Okay.
I had everything he was on. not everything, but I had a lot of this stuff. I had all the weather report. But then passed away. I got the book. I got his autobiography. I wanted to learn all about him. It was a sad story. I felt, I wanted to cry, and then I was like, oh man. And then I got everything he did. I was getting all those bootleg live stuff live in New York. And,
all the Punk Jazz, volume 1 through however many.
Horribly recorded.
Right. Yeah.
But still, you got to get them. But so he was still a huge impact as he was with everybody, just fun, I just wanted to take my doses.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the first time I checked him out, it was over my head. Like I didn't really understand Charlie Parker and Donna Lee. So track 1 on that solo record, like, okay, it's just a lot of notes with a percussion player. Okay, the funk tune was my jam. Like right out, Come On, Come Over. That was my favorite tune on the record until I could understand the other stuff.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, he was. Those things were. All that stuff was killing.
No.
Who you been listening to lately? Not just bass player wise, but in general.
Let me really think. I don't know. I know I've been going back and listening to a lot of stuff that I missed, across the board.
Yeah.
So even in like the classic rock, and even in the fusion, even in the the R&B, and even in some of this the new stuff that comes out, which I don't listen to the radio anymore, really.
Yes.
I haven't listened to radio for a long time. But my cousin, I trust. She has her best friend's a DJ, so every once in a while, something, a lot of the good stuff, we're not going to hear it on the radio,
Right.
Creating, but people are still creating some good stuff. So I have a list of that, and I call it. I have a YouTube list, and I call it "New to Me."
Okay, nice.
So even if it could be new or it could be old, but new to me. So, but it's stuff that I liked, so I put it together. So I can't even say all the artists, but one's with somebody called Kevin something, and then one's with Lucky Day, and then I don't know. It's a lot of, but as far as group wise.
Yeah.
Knuckles are like my favorite right now. I mean, I always loved Snarky Puppy before they became popular. I like their first 2 albums. They were killing. Bring Us to Bright and The Only Constant. Landmarks. Killer stuff. I came on to them I was recording with Bobby Sparks. He plays with a lot of people. But we were on the road with Layla Hathaway at the time. Okay. And so he had, I know Jarris Mosey. I could hear them in the room next door. They were recording something. It was killing. And he asked me to do something. And then I ended up doing like 2 more tracks.
Nice.
But who did the horn arrangements? It was Michael League. And I said, never heard of him. And then he said, this group called Snarky Puppy. And he did a lot of recording with them and playing with them. So that's how he knew Michael League and Snarky Puppy. They came out of the same area and everything. So once he turned me on to them, I was like, oh, they're killing, man. They're killing.
Yeah.
So then I was looking on at the time, was it MySpace or was it Facebook? It was one of them. And I looked and I saw Michael League already was a friend of mine on there. And I was like, so I guess, I don't know if he followed me or whatever. So then I contacted him. I said, dude, I'm getting my late pass. I love your stuff. I love your work. Yeah. He contacted me right away. And he wanted to talk.
Oh, that's cool.
And so we talked, and he wanted me to open up for them. Snarky, they were going to be in the area, and he wanted me to open up maybe. But they were working for the door, and I was like, dude, I just bought a house. I can't.
Yeah. I'm working to pay for this door. Right. Yeah.
So, but I'm really proud of him and what they've done.
And that was, I know some people here in LA that have some connects through UNT with him and the whole band, different members of the band. And from what I understand, they were just kind of grinding it out, like van tours for a long, long time. Just like, everybody, and that's amazing that everybody was on board with the vision of that music and was willing to exactly, the sacrifice to do that thing, because that's a grind. So it's really cool that he found a team of people and to make that music happen.
Absolutely.
But it was about maybe 8 years ago now is when they were really blowing up.
Right. Exactly.
But yeah, they had been on it for a long time, just grinding.
I was happy that they won a Grammy and all. I was like, well deserved. Just glad to see some real music winning. Awards, not just who's popular or whatever, the young generation thinks is great,
Yeah, there was a nice bump of that. Esperanza was getting some awards and some press and doing some things on the late night with Wayne Shorter, and there's a lot of cool stuff happening and being publicized that I thought, and maybe it still is. I don't know. I don't think I follow enough publications to know what's even out there anymore, or who's getting what press. But I remember that era, and that was a cool time. And obviously, as bass players, it was great that Michael was the spearhead of all that as the bassist.
Yeah,
so that's cool. Similar to, in a much different way, but what Thundercat's doing now, really putting the bass forward and getting the instrument some recognition.
Yeah, I like his stuff too. I like all his stuff.
I've checked it out. I know I've said it on the podcast enough. His piano player is a good friend of mine, and so I've checked it out enough, but I've never really sat with it.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Longest lump something that lasts like 2 minutes long called 3 a.m.
Oh yeah,
little interlude kind of song. That's my favorite song.
Okay. What record is that?
I like the one. I like what he did with Them Changes. The thing he did with the Isley Brothers tune that he made his own changes, and then the thing he did with Michael McDonald. It's not the normal set of changes. What I like, it's not go to, So yeah, like he's doing his own thing, man.
Yeah, and I think after spending enough time in the music business, anybody who just carves out any kind of niche that gets a little press and you can be original, whatever. Some people are gonna love it, some people are gonna hate it, but not everything's for everybody. So whatever.
That's right.
I'm glad he's doing it.
Thanks.
It's inspiring that people continue to do it. You mentioned having a group back in the day, in your early days of playing. Do you still have a group?
I have. I had a group called Unit 3 Deep. We haven't been doing anything much since the pandemic. One of the band members has been going through some stuff, and and so. So then I told the other band member, like, hey, man, I got a lot of, by the time the pandemic started happening, I started doing, I was working on my craft on writing, and then I started getting some songs placed with some artists. So I was like, I'll put that on the back burner now because, I guess I felt like.
Put the writing on the back burner or put the band on the back burner? Back burner. Yeah.
Because we did a record also, and actually, we got an offer. We got a deal. It was an Italian record company, whatever, independent deal. But right before the pandemic, and then when I hit, we were like, we just
Yeah, definitely not touring Italy right now.
Right.
Especially when they got hit the hardest with all that stuff.
Yeah, so that kind of, that went downhill, and so yeah, we don't know. We still get a lot of I get a lot of people asking me about it all the time. But even doing my own thing, I'd rather write for other people. The way the business is, I just haven't been too happy with it. As far as being an artist. So
it's rough. I mean, you're like similar to Snarky Puppy or even Thundercat. Like you have to have a team. You have to have a team that really, gets the ball across the finish line there, or whatever, finish line, the goal line. It's too difficult to do the DIY artist. It sounds good, and there's so many resources for it, but the only people making money off that are the people that are supplying the website or the, whatever it could be, the logo maker website or the scheduling website, whatever. Those are the only people making money off of it. The artist.
Yeah.
You got all these subscriptions out there thinking you can do it yourself, and you can't. You still
Exactly.
need a team because it's way too much.
And lately I've even, in behind closed doors talked to a lot of artists, and they're just, they're just keeping up with it, but a lot of them aren't happy with the way it's going either. I mean,
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of griping. I was like, good, my decision was correct. And I'm
yeah.
because at first it's funny though, because I'd say maybe even as early as like early this year, a lot of the artists kept on saying, "When you coming out with your next one?" When the artists I was hitting with and stuff. And I was like, I'm not feeling it right now. I'm not hitting stuff, but I'm not feeling putting out money and doing all that, going all that for that right now.
It's a lot.
Yeah. And I said, if the feeling hits me and it feels right, because I got to do it for myself. I can't do it for everybody else,
That's right.
So I was like, I don't mind writing for other people. That's the easy work, producing.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I love doing that. Writing is more rewarding than playing for me.
What or do you have? Are you a part of a team of writers, or do you have a production team or staff? Walk through that process with me. So you get approached by you. Let's use this, and maybe this has happened or not. But you mentioned Layla Hathaway, so let's use her as an example for this. Layla hits you up, like, "Yo, doing this record. Let's flesh it out with some tracks."
Okay, now
and scene. How does it go from here?
All right. That's if I was going to write for Layla now. Yeah, I would have. I have two partners I would write with. For one's I call him the polished man. He okay. I like usually come up with the structure of everything, and chords and the melodies and the structure and even the bass and the rhythms and everything. I come up with the structure, a skeleton,
right? And the framework of it all.
Yeah. And he puts the polish and the beautiful stuff.
Okay.
Sometimes too much. I'm like, no, cut that. No.
Yeah. Don't polish it so much. I don't want it that shiny.
Right. Yeah. And then there's the vocalist. His lady is a killer lyricist, and she, I would have her do the lyrics. I have the melodies, but she would do the lyrics. And she's phenomenal. So she would do the lyrics on it, and then we keep, messing with it until we got it. Wait a minute, right there. Well, let's do this, right, and then once the artist is happy with where it's going, then usually I let the artist handle the final things, because usually they have their own mix and mastering guy.
Right.
And sometimes the artist will say, "Do you have one that you would recommend?" And I've done that, but
Okay.
But if it's somebody like I wrote a song for Najee on his latest record, I didn't need a production team. I did use my polished man to do some stuff, but there was no vocals on it. It was just musical.
Right.
It was something that I wrote, and I don't know if I was in Cancun, and during sound check was with another artist, and Najee came up there and said, "What are you doing now?" I was like, "It's funny you would ask." Well, and I said, "Just wrote something, got it on Mesa's album," and then he said, "Oh, I'd like to hear some of your stuff." Hey, when I got back to my room, I sent it right away.
Yeah, right away.
But by morning, he hit me up. I didn't see it. He hit me right up and said, "Hey, I love that tune." I'm like, "Which one?" Because I sent him like 3 songs. Okay. One was just, sometimes I'll send a song that I did for another artist just so they can see what kind of work I do. That doesn't mean that's the song for them. So I'm glad he didn't pick that one. Right. He picked, but then the other 2 were songs that he could possibly use, and he picked one of the ones that I just, I didn't have anybody in mind necessarily, but I'm glad he liked it. So I'm like,
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. If it helps to have an artist in mind that either you're trying to pitch it to or is already kind of, in the wings waiting for it, or do you just write tunes and then kind of shop it to artists?
Yeah, that's how I do it
Okay.
because sometimes I do have songs like I'm going through right now. I have a song I'm trying to pitch, and I'm surprised. I'm trying to get it. It's it could be the melody, or it could be the vibe, or it could be the tempo. You never know. But I've learned the big lesson I've learned, and I learned this many years ago. Don't take anything personally, because I did at first. So I'm like, you saying my song sucks,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
not that. Maybe you just can't use it in your song. What you write, the way you feel it for a person, is not going to always hit them the way it hits you. Like there's been songs I've written some stuff for Walter Beasley. I got a song or so on his record, but this stuff that I've written, I was like, that I did. I see him in mind right away,
Right.
and he's like, kind of no reaction. I'm like, okay, I guess it's supposed to be for somebody else then.
Yeah, right.
But I have written stuff for like Pieces of a Dream and the last record, I wrote something and I didn't get much reaction, so I submitted it to somebody else and they took it right away. Then 2 weeks later, Pieces called me and said, "What happened to the song?" I'm like, "No, it's too late. It's gone."
Yeah.
I don't know why, but that feels good.
Yeah, right. To let it know, like, what you passed on, it has value. You just couldn't see it at the time.
There you go. You won't sleep next time.
Right. Now, how does that work? Because obviously, songs get covered a lot by other people. So if you sold it to artist B, Pieces of a Dream could still cover it, correct?
And I'm still going to get paid, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, there's no exclusivity deals when you make these contracts with the artist for them to take the tune. How does that work with
it depends.
Being able to sell it to two people at the same time?
Yeah. I don't think if one person gets it, then that's it. I usually So it's not like, even though I may have 5 people in mind, I send them separately and wait to hear. I get time allotment, you know what I mean? And because I don't want to have 2 people wanting the same song and saying, now that has happened.
What if they both record it?
Well, I have to then that's between both of them. But then again, I have heard of artists, I won't mention them, they get mad and they told me, like, look, I want to make sure that
like a do not compete deal, like nobody else can use it for a couple years or something, so that the artist gets the artist version of it.
No, not even a couple of years. They just during that period of time, because a certain amount of time, they'll give me a month range. Like, no, I'm putting my album out in the fall. I want to make sure. Now, I got this one. This is not even dealing with the same song. This is just like making sure I don't come out with another song with another horn player during the same song during the same time. I'm like, you kind of blocking me. Now I can't write this, and then I can't control when they're going to put the record out.
That's right.
I had to agree that I wasn't going to, and so I had to talk to another artist that I did write a song for, that was a sax player, and say, "When's your album coming out?"
Right.
All right, I'm good. But this artist wanted to make sure, and this is a big artist, so I wanted to make sure, he was cool, but. That was the first time that happened to me. Said, I don't want you to come out with it. I want to make sure, because he was ticked off about somebody else previously before me that wrote something for somebody, and then they both came out at the same time, and he wasn't happy about it. So I'm like,
I mean, I can kind of understand that, but I could also think like it could work in the benefit,
right?
It could be like a cross promotion situation, unless they want. I mean, most artists do want all the attention for
right.
They don't want to be piggybacking on someone else's unless that somebody they're piggybacking off of is a level up from them.
Right.
You know?
You're right. You're right.
We'll be back right after this.
Folks, the middle of the show is set aside for you. Get featured on the Bass Shed podcast. Share whatever news you have. You have information about a new album, a band you're doing, some social media links, whatever it may be, a YouTube channel. Share it with the bass community here on the Bass Shed podcast. Click the link in the show notes. Get featured for more information. All right, featured on this episode is Jerry Germont's 15 Timeless Bass Lines. That's right. I'm featuring my own book. Jerry Germont, 15 Timeless Bass Lines is published by the Bass Shed Academy and Solar Energy, which is Jerry Germont's nonprofit organization. Proceeds from the book go towards music scholarships and music programs for underprivileged youth music programs. So I know I don't talk about that aspect enough, but the Bass Shed Academy is a nonprofit organization to support youth music programs. By purchasing and getting your copy of the Jerry Germont 15 Timeless Bassline books, you are not only facilitating yourself learning and growing a bass player, but the next generation of musicians to learn and grow as well. So stop by the BassShedAcademy.org for more information.
Excellent, sir.
It's fascinating to have this conversation about writing because I was playing an award show last night, and I played with a bunch of the composers who wrote the tunes for these movies. So there was the Hollywood Music and Media Awards. Diane Warren was there, played with her. There's a movie called Emilia Perez, I think, out right now on Netflix. It's getting a bunch of press. I played with the composers for that. And it's fascinating that all the composers of the songs played, not the artists that performed them. Mm. So like Selena Gomez performed the tune for this movie, but I played with the composers, and it's fascinating to deal with them. You know, right. Like this is the source, not whatever filter went through with the artist and the artist's publicity situation. It was really cool. I
would have loved to seen that and heard that because because I was really interested in doing music for film, composing for films too, and I was doing that. It's then.
I mean, it seems like it's a lot more placement based. The tune we did with Diane Warren, I don't even know the name of the movie it was in, but the artist who sang the song, that you can look it up, is her. The acronym HER, that's the artist. Right. The tune's called The Journey. And I forgot what movie it's in. But it was interesting hearing one of the other writers, and the orchestrator was out. We played with the string quartet. Everything just seemed like a tune that was written that got placed. And I mean, I know that they're still scoring for movies, and they do it to picture lock, and they write and we'll cut the session that way. But there's a lot of just placement,
and more like a
stuff happening,
more like a soundtrack,
soundtrack
instead of composition and film scoring.
Yeah, it's a different vibe than like a composer with an orchestra, and I mean, Diane Warren, for instance, who's written with Celine Dion.
Oh, okay.
Leanne Rimes and had all these hits in the 90s. Like, yeah, she just wrote a tune, and then like it got picked up. Or maybe she wrote it for the movie. I don't know. I didn't ask her about it.
Right.
But have you looked into, I don't want to say have you looked into, that sounds stupid. What is the struggle, I guess, or success? I mean, the success is you get your tune placed, but with getting it to music supervisors, that's a part of the industry I've never dove into, is like dealing with music supervisors or trying to pitch original music for placements or anything. Has that been a part of your pursuit, or is it mainly just dealing with artists?
I've just gone straight through artists. I haven't used any in-betweens at all.
Okay.
Way that started, I mean, I played with a whole lot of different artists, so but I never, I was real timid about playing any of my music for them or
Yeah.
Being like, hey, I got something for you. I was never,
Yeah, yeah.
so
And that's just some like bass player mentality stuff, though.
yeah,
Like we don't show up to the stage looking to forward our agenda. Otherwise, we wouldn't be bass
with it,
players. Like we're here, we're here. We're gonna hang in the back. Let me know what you need. I got
there
you.
you go. There you
Yeah,
go. And that's my personality too.
for sure. I think that's pretty much common with a lot of us. Is we're not, but we all have something to say, And
Right.
you're writing, and I don't know. This is a fascinating thing, at least for me. Have you found a personal crossroads with that, with trying to put yourself out there and and move forward with your career as a writer and engaging, but then it feels really unnatural.
Yes. Well, that's why that moment when I prefer for people to ask me, and then
Sure.
I open the door, and then I can tell them, and I say what I'm doing, and then most of the time they say, "Well, you haven't written anything for me." I'm like, "Haven't
Yeah.
asked me," you know.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you haven't paid me.
Yeah, right. But then I've had people that done that, and then I send them something, and I'm like, maybe you should say that for yourself.
Mm.
Like
Okay.
you saying my song sucks or something,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
but but you can't take it personally. You just need to hear
Sure.
that for them, because sometimes us as songwriters, we can get in what we hear for an artist may not be what they hear for them.
Sure.
Like this will make you a little bit more hipper, something like that. This is a little bit more hip than what you normally do, but
Right.
I think this fits in your thing. And or it could work in reverse. You might think, okay, I've kind of backed this down, and so this kind of would meet their criteria, and they may think, man, this could be hipper. You never know
Yeah.
what. Now that's never happened to me.
Right. Yeah,
Never happened.
yeah. As a qualifier, no one has ever thought my thing needs to be hipper.
Right.
It is hip enough as it is.
Thank God that hadn't happened to me. But
Yeah. And have you do you sit down with the artist and kind of ever get a vision of like, okay, you want a tune, let's write a song, you're going through this, or you want this message to be on the next record, and you kind of put one together with a concept that the artist has in mind?
not really sat down. I'm just, to be honest, either on the phone um, or emailed or text.
Yeah, but there's an exchange
Right.
about the concept
Yeah.
moving forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't mean to be go through.
Yeah. Now it's so literal.
But yeah. So okay, for instance, the song that Mesa got, this songwriter out of California. I mean, not a songwriter. She's a vocalist, singer. Up and coming singer. She wanted me to write something for her. She told me the vibe of what she wanted me to write. I said, okay. And I listened to one of the artists that she was saying the kind of thing. I said, all right, I'll do something like this, but something that it's got to be something I can feel, it can't
Sure.
be, so.
Yeah, I mean, you're still uh you're creative, right?
Right.
We're all creatives. You're still putting your artistic stamp on it.
Right. I'm not trying to copy somebody else's thing just to make the money. I want to
Right.
put my stamp on something original, but still fit the mold of what they're looking for.
That's right.
So I did, and then I didn't hear back from this vocalist for a long time. And that kind of ticked me off because I was like,
Yeah.
So then
Going back, reading the emails, like, did I say anything messed up
Right.
in here? Like, what's going on?
So then when she hit me, she was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just, it was kind of, she had, other things took priority, so she wasn't really paying attention to it right now." I'm like, okay, so I'm moving on. I'm like, you know what? And so, I said, I'm gonna do something with, I started working on that song more, and that during the time, it was during the pandemic, so I was doing work for a guy that he's like the manager of Levert, and he used to be an executive at Capitol Records and Warner Brothers or whatever. And so
Okay.
somehow somehow we got connected, and I started sending him a lot of bass tracks to a lot of the R&B artists he was doing. And every song he sent me was killing. I was like, who's writing these songs, you know?
Yeah.
And to be honest, that guy, I mean, it was a good experience in one way, but it was kind of a pain in the butt in one because normally if somebody asked me to do bass tracks, I just still ask them to give me some, instructions on, you know, what are your
what do you want the bass to be for this track? Right.
And then, give me some kind of guidelines and then send the MP3s, one with a bass and one without. And then so I can hear what, and then I'll do what I do. Well, this guy never failed. He's an older guy. He's got to like make you earn your money. So you do a track that's killing, and he's like, why don't you do it over like this? And then you another one, why don't you do it over, you got to go.
The micromanaged cat.
Yeah, right? And I'm like, man, this is killing. You about to get on my nerves. So it was like, it was that. But the tracks were killing, though.
Yeah.
And I know he wasn't writing them. He was saying he was. He was taking credit, but it was somebody else that was writing.
Okay.
Certain key things I would ask him musically, and he didn't know, and he couldn't answer.
Yeah, so it sounds like this person may have just created a job for themselves by being a middleman kind of producer.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, but I did respect his opinion on songs because to me, every song he was sending me, I was like, they were bangers, man.
Yeah.
This is the stuff that needs to be on the radio instead of the crap that I do here when it's on. So anyway, I started working on that song. I pulled together for the first time my polished guy and lady to do the lyrics, and we worked on it, got it killing. And so I told him what I was trying to do. I'm going to start doing some songs to play some with artists, and he said he wanted to hear it. I played him that song. He flipped out. He said, "What are you going to do with this?" I was like, "Hold tight," because he had some ideas and stuff. I said, "No, hold tight. I got some connections. I'm going to try to use my connections first,
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I did. I said, okay, who could I possibly hear on this song? And it was like 5 singers that I played with, that I, performed and recorded and, toured with or whatever. And so I sent it to them. And 2 of them I never heard back from, as far as that's concerned. Well, one I heard back, but late. And then Mesa, when I sent it to Mesa, she loved it and wanted it right away.
Okay.
And then another one after that wanted it, but it was too late.
Yeah.
So that was my first time I did it that way. And
okay.
I sent them out all at once instead of, and I said, okay, I don't want that happening. I mean, that could work in your favor though, because one of the ones that wanted it could be like, all right, no, now you're going to write me another one. They could.
Right.
Business for another one. But I don't want to put myself in that position. I'm doing them separately now.
Yeah. That's cool. What's the home rig? You're cutting this stuff from the house, like these tracks you were talking about?
Pro.
Okay.
Yeah, Logic.
What's Logic Pro? What bass is the go-to bass for it? What's the preamp situation? What's the signal chain?
It's simple stuff. My DA audio, my digital audio interface, just do it 3, nice and simple.
Yeah,
it's clean and good. My bass to go to, of course, is my Shoal 5-string Dyson, my David Dyson signature bass. Any of them, I have my original Shoal. I've used that. I've used my my number 1, my number 8. They all sound the same. They all sound great.
Okay. Is that how you have them by number?
Yeah, the first batch.
Yeah.
And
let's talk about the signature. Actually, what did you help design it? Did you just make some recommendations to the manufacturer? Like what was that process like for you? And then what is the bass?
Okay. I just made some recommendations. I went into Shoal's. He picked me up from a gig, The first time I met him, I was on the gig with Pieces of a Dream. He was endorsing the guy that came on before me. And, he said he knew of my work and he wanted to work with me. And he said, yeah, I can get the sound you want and all. I'm like, I heard that before.
Yeah.
So, but I said, all right. He said, next time I'm in town, I'll hit you up. And so a month later, I was in town with another artist, and he picked me up after the gig and took me to his shop and all. And the original show, my first show, is the one he put in my hands. And so I had my MTD with me, my favorite MTD. And
what are we talking? 5-string, 6-string? Like, what's your go-to? 5-string. Okay.
535.
Yeah, I had one that got stolen actually, but I love that bass. I love the hybrid radius on the back of the neck.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
Because it's like, I'm sure it's the same on your MTD. It's it's flatter as you get up closer. I love that. And like they got the dimensions right on that. When you're down here, that's how you play, and when you're up here, that's how you play.
That's right.
And I loved that neck radius. I love that.
They feel great, and they
yeah.
what was the wood on your necks? Mine, most of them, I like windy.
I think that bass was. I remember it was all blonde, and I believe it was just maple on maple.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was bright.
Yeah, it was bright. It was definitely bright.
So mine was Wenge, and then I had ash as the body.
Okay.
The reason I use a lot of ash instead of maple is because it's lighter. And the basses were killing my back, man.
Yeah.
So
I got a neck thing from being,
right.
that awards show. We had like 6-hour rehearsals with all the artists during the day, and then we did the gig at night. Right now, my neck I can't turn it past that.
Yeah.
It's pretty tight.
Yeah. That's the worst. When I come home and I have that shoulder thing like that has been on so long, I'm surely going to get a tension headache.
Yeah.
When that happens. But so that's why I do that, and so it's those tension headaches are far and few between, but it happens sometimes. Gigs a lot, double night, double gig nights or whatever. But what was I gonna say? So the MT, I had the 535.
Yeah, the 535 was the go-to.
Right.
Then you're at the shop.
Right.
He puts one in your hands. And that's where we're at.
Yeah, well, I wanted to first play. I wanted to first EQ. You know how when you go in the booths, whether it be NAMM or whatever, and the person who's the salesman or whatever, or that made the amp, they want to start turning knobs. And I was like, no, man. Turn knobs. Let me do what I'm. Don't turn for what you.
Yeah. Right. Why are you trying to get my sound on your bass? Like, you don't even know me.
I want to know the potential of this thing.
That's right.
I want, so let me do it. So no, hands off, man. Let me do it. So, but basically, I wasn't trying to do anything major with it. I really wanted to do everything flat because
you get a gauge on the instrument.
There you go. At that point, it's like, okay. I was listening, I'd listen back on gigs, live gigs or whatever, and depending on what equipment I had, the bass sounded like what I wanted it to.
Yeah.
So from that point on, I was looking for a bass where even if I had some sucky equipment, what you're hearing in the house is going to be killing.
Right.
And
because if they take the line from the DI to the house.
Yes.
Before it even hits the amp, which is pretty normal.
Right.
You want to know that just like that pure signal. Like, I'm good with that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I want to know, because I realize sometimes, all right, it sounded too mid-rangey there. All right, it didn't sound as full and fat. And it depended on what kind of equipment I had,
Right.
I say, no, that's not the way to go. It all starts here. Mm-hmm. And if the equipment sucks, at least then sometimes I'll just turn. I was like, I'll cut the speakers off and I'll go through a monitor of the speakers.
Yeah, right.
So, so anyway, I did that. And that's how I was able to gauge whether it was going to work for me. Now, the MTD, I played it, sounded great through there. Said, all right, cool. Got the show. And now the MTD is 18 volts.
Yeah, I remember.
This is 9 volts, and it's
Okay.
and all of a sudden it was serious fatness. Like on the B, I mean on the bass knob, even today, that stays only halfway. I don't do it anywhere
Really?
because and the same thing with the treble. The thing is, I wanted a bass that gave me too much of everything, so I can just roll it off. I'd rather have too much.
Yeah, you want the headroom. Yeah.
You don't want to have this much, and you need a little bit over there, and you need a little bit there, so you got to get that out of the amp or the cabinet.
Right.
No, I want it all in my bass so that I could just shape it, and I'm good anyway. And that we're here. So that's how I pitched to Shoal, and I said I want a bass that's versatile because I do everything. I mean, I do all kind of music. I do rock, reggae, I do straight ahead, I do fusion, I do funk. So it doesn't matter. I do Latin, so I want something on one bass. I don't want to have to keep switching basses and stuff. I just move this, and here we go. And now one thing I'll say about that 535, the only thing that could do a little bit better than the Shoal is sound close to a fretless. I could get that one to sound almost like a fretless. It sounded it was crazy, and but now the Shoal, I can get it to sound similar, but not quite like that. But everything else.
Now, what quality of a fretless? Like, are we talking kind of clarity or melodic nature? Because I know those MTDs have the 0 fret too, and those MTDs are super clear.
Right.
Like they're really, really clear.
Right.
Or like that kind of mid-rangey.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like the mid-rangey tone without losing the bottom. I mean, even though.
Yeah, that's right. It's a fat mid-range.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so when I played the Shoal in his shop, I said, "This one's coming with me." This one's coming with me. And then he said, "Well, let's make a deal. Okay. All right, let's sit down. Let's do this." So
yeah. What are the electronics in it?
John East Retro preamp.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And
man, I've been wanting to check those out for a while. I actually don't even have a jazz bass to just plug it in, but I've been really looking at those. And the first time I saw them, I'm like, yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Like everything I read about all the specs on it, I'm like,
Yeah.
That's been on the radar since I first learned of it.
Yeah, that sounds great, man. Oh, speaking of fretless, man, my first fretless, that was my second fretless, but my first fretless that I got from when I got with Tobias, Killer B.
Oh, yeah.
And so the reason I'm going back is because he was doing the Killer B promotions and stuff. And I wanted a fretless bass for him, and I wanted a custom fretless. So he said, "Okay, what kind of wood you want?" I said, "Ash." And he said, "Ash for a fretless?" I said, "Yes, I want ash for a fretless. I'm looking for different, and I want to work with it and see what tones I get."
Now, if I remember right, I'm prone to getting this stuff confused, but ash, like swamp ash, has kind of a mid scoop in it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, which is like typically not what is preferred on the fretless. The fretless, you want like almost a little bit of like a bump around, like, I don't know, somewhere between 300 and 400, to get that kind of moi thing. Yeah, okay.
All my fretlesses are ash, and they're killer.
Okay.
With that one in particular, I think that was the first fretless that he did in ash, period. And I'm positive it was, because he didn't want to do it. And I said, "No, I want to." Yeah. But it's funny, when he finished it, he called me, he said, "That was a good idea." Yeah. He said, "That was a good idea. This thing sounds great." So, but my favorite two fretlesses, he also made me when he turned to MTD. That fretless is killer. It's swamp ash, and my Shoal fretless is a monster. So and you can hear them on my record. So you can decide whether or not you think. But I can tell you right now, my favorite fretless sounds are Gary Willis and Richard Bona. I love Marcus's fretless sound too. But I think Richard Bona for the fatness. It's so fat and it's so warm.
Yeah.
Gary Willis's is warm too, and it's just sings. It sings.
Yeah.
In the mid range to high end. So those are my two fretness. If I can combine Richard Bona sound with Gary Willis, I'm like, oh my God. Ultimate.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Richard, at least up until recently, was strictly a Federa guy.
Mm.
I think he was only playing Federa. Similar, I mean, obviously, Gary has his signature bass.
Mm.
But I'm trying to think of what else. Like, I got a few of his records, and I've checked him out online. I don't know if I've ever seen him play another bass than a Federa. But now I think he's pushing the Mark basses.
Oh.
I've seen some stuff with Mark basses doing actual instruments now,
wow.
not just amps. So I think he's getting behind those.
I wonder how
I don't
it
know.
work out for Marcus because he does the amps. Is he going to try?
Yeah, Marcus does the amps, but Marcus also has the sire thing going too, so he didn't care about the Mark bass.
Yeah, and he's got the power, the clout to be like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm doing it.
Yeah. Have you played any of those sire basses?
I haven't.
No.
I haven't played any of them.
I think I might have picked one up at a shop one time to check it out. I mean, it's not like I took it on a gig or even like plugged it into my rig, so I don't know, but it felt okay, you know. Like, okay, I understand for the prices that I see them go for. Like, okay, I understand.
You know what? I'm gonna do that. It didn't even dawn on me, but I'm doing a cruise with Marcus coming up again.
Okay,
I'm gonna pick up. I'm gonna pick up his bass this time. Let me check this thing out.
Well, is he still playing? What's he playing live? Is he still playing his old Made in Japan Sadowski retrofit, like his OG bass, or is he playing one of the sires?
No, he's got his Tadaf Fender on that joint. He's sire sitting up there. He's got the sire sitting on stage, but I didn't
sure
that he switched or whatever, but he's definitely playing that Fender.
Yeah, the classic Marcus. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, So
you got a tour with him coming up. Let's talk about this. Playing with Marcus Miller.
I'm playing with, about 8 different artists like Brian Culberson and Eric Darius.
Is this the Dave Koz cruise?
No, this one is this is the cruise that Dave Koz once was on, and then he left them to do his own. It's pretty much patterned off of the same cruise. Now, this cruise was I used to do Capital Jazz Cruise. I've done that super cruise. I've done that for like 12 years.
Oh wow!
But I was like, okay, I'm done. And then once I was done, now I did the Punta Cana, the Warren Hill thing, the Getaway, and I was playing with like 11 different artists, including Warren. And then the musical director for that called me up and said, "Listen, man, we got we'd love to have you on the cruise and stuff." And I was like, I said, "This is funny that you're calling me because I was just saying I wasn't going to do any more cruises." And I said, unless it's like on the level of like the Blue Note, because I knew Marcus was heading that. He was the face of the Blue Note cruise, or like the Smooth Jazz or the Dave Koz cruise. And this is the Smooth Jazz cruise. I was like, yeah, I'm honored. I'm honored that you would ask me to do it. So let's do it. So I even talked to the promoter's wife when I got down to Florida. I didn't even know that was her until got to the hotel. She was in the lobby. Ended up talking to the promoter's wife, and she said that Marcus, that Smooth Jazz cruise they were in cahoots with Blue Note for the tour for the cruise, and Marcus was the face. But then they Blue Note and them bumped heads, so they parted. But Marcus was with them. I was like, oh, great. So
it's the equivalent of the one. Yeah. That's cool.
I'm in the right place. I'm in the right place then. So
yeah.
So that, and I must say that's the best cruise I've ever been on because I've done the Capital Jazz cruise and stuff, and it was cool because I had a lot of people from this area like family to me, but they really take care of you on that cruise. I mean,
nice.
I didn't have to worry about anything. I felt appreciated from the fans to the artists, and every day they were saying they were happy I was on the cruise,
Oh, cool.
And
cool.
That's a good feeling to be appreciated.
Yeah, always. Would you say the music director called you? Is it one MD for the cruise, or does every artist have their own MD, which they do when each artist tours, and you're dealing with like 11 different MDs?
No,
because that would be exhausting.
Right. No, there's one MD, and he's a killer.
Okay.
Sax player, and he's
oh yeah. Okay.
And I love playing his music too. I played with him too, man. His set was the highlight for me, man, because we got to play a lot of odd time signature and some.
Sure.
All the music was killer, but his was one of my favorite sets. And he's
okay.
And he ran everything. It's a smooth, well-oiled machine.
Okay, good.
Happens is a look. They jump, they like, let's fix it.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep moving.
right.
And I love it. They're on point.
Cool, man. What do you got coming up? What do you got coming up? Kind of through the holiday season and getting into the spring of next year.
Yeah, I've got a bunch. I got dates through the end of next year with Eric Derrick.
Okay.
And also with Walter Beasley. The Pieces dates, I have a couple dates. Well, one more date, till the end of the year with the Pieces of a Dream. And I have to see what other stuff I have. But
did you just say Eric Darius?
Yeah.
You're touring with Eric Darius?
Yeah.
Who's playing guitar on that?
He's a killer. Peter Mangaya.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a bad dude, man. He's out of Florida. He's killer. He's a killer.
Okay, I think a friend of mine used to play with Eric, but I don't remember. So I was just checking if it was him again or not. But dope. And so after the Eric thing, after the Eric tour,
then there's the cruise. The cruise comes.
Okay.
So we start rehearsing in January.
Yeah.
So a lot of this next coming month, I got to go aboard. Shoot. It was more overwhelming last year. I played with a lot of these artists, but then they have new music. So it's like over 100 tunes.
Yeah. And what are they giving you? Are they giving you notated charts? Are they giving you just stems? Are they giving you like charts and here's the playback?
All of
them.
Okay. Stems, charts, and MP3s of the studio version and the live version. Yeah, I really just want the live version. And sometimes I'll listen to the studio version just so I can hear the actual bass line, because not every bass player is going to play it. The bass line's, consistent or correct. So I want to listen to the studio bass line as they wanted it. Then I'll go to the live and know what.
Yeah, okay.
So it's like 10 tunes, it's like 10 tunes each artist. And, then we're also doing the All-Star shows. And that's what Marcus asked me to come out on at the end with him and Nate Phillips.
Oh, cool.
Like an honor.
Yeah.
So that's real cool.
Nice.
Yeah. So, it's a lot of material, but like I said, most of the artists I've played with, I was musical director for Larry Braggs. I've done it, I've arranged some stuff for him. So he's going to be on the boat again. Candy Dofer, I performed with her many times.
Okay.
She's great. Marcus Anderson, Marquel Jordan, Brian Culberson, Mindy Abear, all sax players, it seems, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. That's the thing. Yeah. It's always sax players or guitar players that do the thing. Killer, dude. Thanks again for taking the time, man.
Hey, man, that's my honor. Thanks for hitting me up, man.
Yo, this is Craig Gash. Subscribe to the podcast. Follow us on the Instagram, the YouTube.
Okay.
Leave us a comment.
All right. That was my talk with David Dyson. That was great having David on the show. Great having David. We talked a lot about industry, right? And songwriting. And let's put it this way. A lot of respect for everyone pursuing being a songwriter. That to me is that just seems like a lot. It seems like a lot. There's so many things involved with pursuing that, as part of someone's career, or maybe that's the main focus of other people's career, whatever it may be. Songwriting, hats off to those folks. When you get it right, though, man, when they get it right, and I'm talking about any songwriter. And by get it right, I mean you write a piece of music that really lands, and people can really connect with. That's powerful. That's powerful, because at the end of the day, we all got into this because someone wrote a song, right? Someone wrote a song that hooked us. And so the pursuit of being a songwriter, hats off to everyone that pursues that. And I think it's really hip that David is not only a diverse bass player, but has this diverse skill set that he pursues within his artistry and within his career. It was great having him on the show. Make sure to subscribe to the Bass Shed podcast for more episodes that are coming out regularly, and I will catch you on the next one in a minute.